All right, Mavs fans. So we do need to have a talk. And this has actually been something that's been on my mind as far as just like preparing a video and putting out for a couple weeks now, since we've kind of been in this slump. And I'm actually going to do it a little bit differently. So that I don't have anything really prepared, and it's been on my mind. I've been wanting to do it. I just haven't done it yet. So I'm actually going to wing this video here. And it's actually going to be in response to my good friend who I've referenced multiple times on this channel, Hunter Sands, who has just recently started his YouTube channel as well. He's elaborated from his platforms and is no longer solely from the podcast, I guess, areas or avenues, and he's branched out onto YouTube as well. So go check him out as well. The same exact name. It's on YouTube. But anyways, I would like to respond to his video. And by the way, before I get going, this dude's mind, his basketball mind, is much bigger, much brighter than mine is. So I want to preface everything I'm about to say by saying that. And I do agree with just about everything that he stated in his video regarding the Mavs. And this is, again, in response to his video that he made saying, let's have a talk. And I agree, we do need to have a talk. But first and foremost, I wanted to point out that while there are struggles happening currently within the organization, just, being able to close out ball games and whatnot, the thing that is most important for me to consider whenever just evaluating the state of the franchise or the team right now is it's a young team with a lot of fresh faces, with two stars, headlined by two stars who are, for lack of a better term, spring chickens, right? We got these two 20 plus year old kids, barely even, Luka's barely even legal enough to buy himself a drink, like he's 21, 22 years old. Kristaps, Porzingis, 25 years old. Like, these kids, they're still learning how to play for themselves. And Porzingis, obviously, learning how to play healthy, right, is the biggest key for him. But these guys have to learn how to play for themselves first before, and in my opinion, they can sort of evolve and being able to complement each other's game, right? That's something that comes with time and comes with experience. And so, I think that these two can mesh, but like to Hunter's point, he's saying that the main problem here, why we're seeing some struggle for those two guys in particular is Luka just kind of has the ball in his hands too much and is shooting too much. His attempts per game is literally right at 30. And I think 29 is the exact number. And Hunter said that guys like James Harden, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, three of the best shooters, scorers, volume guys, ball hogs, if you will, ever, right? And those three guys never once averaged that many shots per game in any year in their career. And Luka's already done that both years now that he's been in the NBA. So, case in point, why I personally believe the issue stems from, Hunter asked the question, he followed that up with, why are the Mavs now setting the record for most consecutive losses in a one-score game? The number is at 12 right now, right? So his question is, why? When last year the problem was we couldn't stop anybody. We were, had the best offense in NBA history, but also one of the worst defenses in the NBA. So there was that mesh there. Like, we could go out there and score with the best of them, but we couldn't get a stop whenever it counted. So that was kind of why we had the tendency to lose those close games. So, but my theory this year is what he's saying, like, before we lost guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, Tim Hardaway Jr. for a little bit, Maxi Kleber, who, by the way, Dorian and Maxi are two of our best, actually our two best perimeter defenders, alongside Josh Richardson as well. Those three guys, those are our dogs on defense, like defending the perimeter, along with, James Johnson kind of holding things down, being the enforcer, if you will, what have you. But so those three key perimeter defenders that I just alluded to, though, being out for 5 to 6 games a piece. And I don't know if you guys knew this, the Mavs actually they lead the NBA right now in most combined games missed by key players. So that's first and foremost, that's the number one problem, is getting all these new faces acclimated with each other with a full healthy slate of role players. That's key number one to me. And so, kind of moving along from that, not only do we not have all of our role players active for us to kind of find that groove, find that rhythm, so our perimeter defense struggles in that capacity. And before those guys were out, I think the Mavs had the number 4 best defensive rating in the NBA. So the defense had come around. Well, why are we still losing these 1-point games? And again, just responding to Hunter's point here, he was kind of asking that question himself. And I see it as exactly what he already previously alluded to with Luka's shot selection and the volume of shooting. To me, in a one-score game, when it's coming down, crunch time, last possession, last second shot type situation, Luka having the ball in his hands for the entire game at the rate that he does, that's when situations like those last shot scenarios, that's when that becomes a problem. Because what happens is when Luka has the ball that long and that often and is just dominating the touches, guys aren't really ever able to establish a rhythm for themselves. And so all of a sudden you add this pressure late in the fourth quarter when it's like all of a sudden, hey, Luka's going to find you, knock this shot down. Well, it becomes that much more difficult to do when you haven't been able to, for the previous 3 quarters, get into that rhythm already and establish that. So to me, that's the thing. It just comes down to really guys not being able to establish a rhythm due to Luka's ball dominant nature. And so that is the thing is, it's a tricky balance here. And while I'm hopeful that Rick Carlisle can get things figured out and they can find that balance just with a healthy stable, with Kristaps getting into more of a rhythm, him and Luka growing more and more familiar with each other, their games starting to mesh. Luka's got to figure out how to let Kristaps get the ball more in isolation as well, so he can get in that rhythm, so that he can be our a go-to guy that we get the ball to late in the fourth quarter when we need that shot. Or once that happens, if Kristaps is able to get in that rhythm the first 3 quarters, right? Well, guess what? All of a sudden you're not able to triple team Luka on an inbound play with 2 seconds left against the Suns, with him catching the ball, moving away from the basket, turning and fading, and just flipping it up with 3 guys in his face, right? Kristaps attracts some more of that tension away from Luka, so it makes his last second shot ability that much more dangerous. So that's just the way I see it. Like, at some point, it's going to come down to, can Luka figure out how to get Kristaps the ball more in isolation? Can we get our healthy core of guys back and just available, right? The best ability is availability, and COVID was obviously ruining that for us. So that's been my biggest thing. It's, Luka alluded to some of the effort maybe being an issue, and while that may be the case, like, it's obviously, you always want to acknowledge and pay attention to what your best player, your star player, is saying, because he knows, right? He's the leader. He is obviously very in tune with what's going on behind closed doors in the locker room and all that. So maybe if intensity is a factor, that's something that can be corrected very quickly, especially with a veteran coach who knows how to handle these situations like Rick Carlisle, right? And then aside from all that, his other point too is just like coming down to like kind of how their games mesh with each other. To me, it isn't so much of Luka's shot selection as it is just Kristaps hitting shots. Like, I think the Mavs have one player right now who's hitting over 40% of their threes, or actually over 35% of their threes, and it's Maxi Kleber hitting at a 40% clip. So all of their most important secondary scorers, aside from Luka, Kristaps, Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Richardson, all those guys are shooting like 28% from 3. So, and I don't care how good Luka is, I don't care how ball dominant he is, I don't care what's going on, from a game flow point of view. Like, you're not going to win basketball games when you're a high octane offense that can't knock down open shots, right? There's only so much Luka can do. But so that's just the only thing I wanted to raise, like kind of a counterpoint, the way I saw it. I wanted to respond and acknowledge Hunter's basketball brilliance that he brings to the table. I told him he's got, honestly, like a really a unique niche that he thrives in, because I feel like there are less people with his knowledge of basketball than there are for certain other sports, like, football, baseball, all that other type of thing, right? But he obviously puts countless hours of hard work into studying what works, what kind of games styles, I guess I would say, mesh with each other. He understands the numbers. He understands all the statistics. He knows just about everything, from all the X's and O's all the way down to just roster building and all that stuff. Like, his NBA mind is obviously amazing. So again, I don't want to say this is just me and a great friend of mine who has a better understanding of the game of basketball. This is just us having a conversation just via YouTube, just a different avenue. So I listened to his segment of his Mavs version, or segment of the podcast that he posted up to his YouTube channel. Wanted to just kind of put my 2 cents out there and see what he thought about that, maybe get his opinion and some feedback, and then also just kind of let you Mavs fans out there know where I'm at on the current situation as well. So I hope that helps. That's all I got, guys.